All right, so in this example, we are giving our universe set. We're given set C and set D, and we already drew a picture of it in a previous video. So with the picture, they're asking us to find, for part G, they're asking us to find C complement minus D. When you have something like this, you do have to break it down into little pieces first. So the first thing you want to do is find out C prime. There's no need to find D, right? Because D is already given up here, so that's it. But we don't know what C complement is, or C prime, so we have to find that first. So C complement means everything not in C. So I have to grab every single letter that is not in the C circle, right? So that's the first thing I do. I find everything that's not in C, which is C, H, B, D, Y. Again, you're like, why didn't she circle the U? Remember, the U stands for universe. It's not an element. So I circle everything outside of C, and look at that. We already have the first part. So now we have this part. We have C complement. Now from here, I have to remove or subtract D. So what that means, I'm going to clear this up. It means that from the C complement, I have to remove any letter that's also in D. So I'm going to come over here, and these are the letters in D. Or you could just look at the picture, right? These are all the letters in D. So I'm going to have to remove these if they appear here. So the letter C is in D. I'm going to remove it. The letter H is in D, so I'm also going to have to subtract it from here. And the letter P, but there's no P here, so that's it. So anything that I am left with, that is actually my answer for this one. So BDY is the answer to subtracting D from C complement. So again, we did have to find C complement first. Now for part H, there's no complements, there's no nothing, just super simple. We have to subtract C from D. And yes, it's different than D minus C, so be very careful. So you always start with the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and write down D. Again, no need to do anything. You could just come to the picture. D is this, or you could just go to the original problem. D is that. So I just went to the original problem. D is PCH, which again is the same thing as CHP. We don't care about the order. Now from there, I have to subtract C. So that means I have to subtract every single letter that appears also in C. So I'm going to come over here, and the letters I'm going to have to remove are those three. So I'm going to have to remove the P. So I subtract it. I have to remove the V, but there's no V. And I have to remove the W, but there's no W. So that's it. Those remaining ones are my answer for that one. This is the way I do it. Some people just like to look at the picture. Feel free. So if you look at the picture, D minus C is just, okay, grab the D circle, and you're going to subtract all of C. So if I remove all of the C circle, look at that. I'm just left with C and H, which is the same thing. So feel free to do it however you want. Now, the last part. This one is super awesome, right? Because we have to find complements, and then we have to find an intersection. So just like we did with problem number 1, you have to find the complement of C. Let's start with that one. Remember, C complement is everything outside the C circle. So all of those letters give me C, H, B, D, Y. So we already have this part done. Now I also have to find D complement. D complement, and I'm just going to go ahead and erase real quick. D complement is everything outside of D. So I circle everything outside of D. And that gives me V, W, B, D, Y. Okay, so that was pretty simple, but we're not done yet. So look at that. We have C complement. We have D complement. The only thing we have to do now is find their intersection. So don't get them confused, right? If it's a U, it's union, but this one's a backwards U, so it's intersection. Intersection just means, what do they have in common? No need to look at the picture because we already have these, right? So what does this C complement have in common with this D complement? So we just stare at it. They both have a Y, so that's one of my answers. They both have a D, and they both have a B. So that's it. That is my answer. BDY is what C complement has or intersects with D complement. So if you're good with that, then you are good to go. That's how you do it. Again, I'm just going to show you. Some people are able to get the answer just from looking at the picture. So the way you could look at the picture and get the answer is you have to find the intersection. What are all the elements that are neither in C nor D? So if you come to the picture, the only elements that are neither in C nor in D are B, D, and Y, and that is how you get the answer. Okay, so again, that's an easy way to do it if you are very good at looking at the picture and not messing up the symbols. Okay, but if we do ask you for step by step, then we are expecting to see this. Okay, so first you have to find C complement, then you have to find D complement, then you have to find their intersection. All right, so that is it for example number 1.